How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I took zero trades. I didn't take anything on either ES or NQ. Had a bit of a choppier day. Um, Another kind of low volume, choppy day. The past couple days have been that way. We'll take a review over the price action on both of them, kind of what I was watching for, why I didn't take any trades. But right now we're looking at the daily time frame on ES. And you can see, right, we're in this uptrend, make a new high, pull back, make a new high, pull back, higher highs, higher lows. That trend is continuing. We have this recent highest high, the all-time high, and we're pulling back. One thing I will definitely be watching is when we pull back into this area that we had as resistance here. There's kind of this top, this previous high, bust through it on this big day here, pulling back as we kind of approach that area. We also have this trend line that we've been respecting for a while. So a couple things, quite a bit of support in this area. So we'll see. Dive into what I was watching, just high overview. We had the high and the low from yesterday's trading session, marked by the green and the red levels here. We had this pre-market high up here. And a zone that I had from last Thursday and Friday. Last Thursday's low a day. Friday we found some resistance there, broke above, found a little bit of support before kind of selling back below it. We also had this zone here that was the low of last Friday. Some after hours and pre-market support resistance, as well as the high area, the resistance of yesterday's trading session. So those were kind of the areas that came into play today. Probably the nicest trade came in the morning in the pre-market when we came up and rejected off this area. Wasn't trading at that point, but let's take a look. So we started off the day, opened up like right above yesterday's high a day, held that, wicked down into this area and held that, which I thought might be a good sign for upside. But then we kind of erased that with this bearish engulfing, right? Still we're holding this yesterday's high, formed a hammer candle, didn't really do much off of that, sold another bearish engulfing, then a bullish engulfing, made a slight higher high here, sold all the way back down, kind of erased that, made a new lower low, so made a higher high and then a lower low within 20 minutes. Kind of just chopped around this area for most of the day. As you can see, there was nothing really here that I wanted to trade. We'll take a look at NQ in just a second. NQ had some bigger, more volatile moves. But if we look at ES here, you know, we were kind of just ranging. No trend, just a lot of chop, and not the greatest thing to trade. You could have taken trades, you know, could have tried to trade this range, take shorts at the top up here, you know, rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, or take calls when we got down, you know, kind of towards the bottom of this range where we bounced once, twice, 3 times. But overall, it's just, I don't want to do any of that. So the big move came kind of power hour, right? We had a huge sell-off in power hour where we broke below this range, set a new low, came up and retested yesterday's high, that resistance area. This right here would have been nice. I mean, always hindsight 2020. You could have even taken this break of support in here and retest. But yeah, that sell-off in the last hour of the day was really the only move that we got on ES that was worth it. We'll take a look at NQ. And so I guess I can just go over what I was looking for. Is we were kind of opening up in the middle of this range. If I pull up the hourly chart again, we're opening up right here. I had a zone here, I had a zone to the top, I had yesterday's low, I had this big previous all-time high to the downside, which would be quite a drop to make it there today. But I was watching for a hold of this area and potential, you know, move upwards, in which case I would try to grab a piece of that uptrend, which we did hold it in the morning, but we didn't uptrend, right? We just started chopping sideways, and so there was no real trend to jump into. There was no, you know, break and retest of higher highs, higher lows, etc. So was kind of watching. That's why I didn't get into it. I didn't have a huge game plan. My game plan was to see how we reacted to these zones and if we formed a trend to try to hop in on that. And I'll just do another look so you can see we held, but we didn't trend, right? We just kind of chopped around. So, you know, we kind of wicked above the high a day and dropped right through it. So yeah, there's no higher highs, higher lows to take advantage of there. Now I mentioned the NQ was a bit more volatile. We'll pull back on the 1 hour chart and I'll talk about what I was watching there. So on NQ, kind of a similar setup, right? We had this, the lows from Thursday, well, not lows necessarily, but a swing low from Thursday, high from Friday was the pre-market high area that we rejected. So similar setup to ES, where in the morning we came up and rejected off that zone. We had yesterday's high a day, yesterday's low a day, and then we have this zone here, which I pull back, was that previous all-time high. It was also that big level of support last Friday that we bounced and got a big rally from. We also saw some price action there yesterday where we broke through and kind of held that area as support before moving up. So was watching that as well as yesterday's low day. Those were the zones I was watching. Similar to ES, where I was watching, do we hold above yesterday's range and trend up? If so, hop on that trend. Do we break down? Do we bounce? So ES definitely had a lot more fluctuation in price, right? But still not a lot of necessarily trending price action. We started to make a push up. One thing I was watching was the pullback into this like 18,590 area to see if we held in here where we were facing some previous resistance. Once we broke above it, we came down. I didn't really like how this candle closed here in terms of, you know, the pullback into this area. I wanted to see us like wick and hold. So I waited for this candle, but in the middle of this candle, we had a massive drop down, tested yesterday's high a day, wicked all the way back up, formed a lower high here, and then sold off, made a new lower low on the day. Could have potentially, you know, looked for puts in this area as we were failing to break higher, and we saw some definite sell pressure here. But the wick, this candle right here was a really weird one. And as long as we were holding above kind of this 18,590, I wasn't too interested in shorting it. Yeah, but with that being said, we had a massive sell-off through here, and then we just started kind of chopping around, and there was nothing for me in here necessarily. We weren't continuing a trend, right? We had a higher high, made a lower low, and then we just started chopping within that range that we had set. So there wasn't any continuation of a trend. Kind of some wild volatility in the morning, and then some chop. So I got off around, you know, 9 or so, and there's nothing in here for me to trade. You know, we came up in these wicks here. If I was watching this potentially, you know, seeing that we held that support, broke through it with some serious volume and momentum, came up, retested it, and we're failing to break above it. Looking at this, you know, in the moment, that looks like a decent entry for puts to the downside, which we got a small rejection, you know, maybe about 15 points or so, before just immediately boosting back up, kind of forming, you know, a higher high, just put in a higher low, and then selling back down and making a lower low. So not the easiest price action to trade today on either ES or NQ. NQ definitely had some bigger price swings that you could have taken advantage of, but it just wasn't really what I was looking for. There was no zone that I had here, no zone that I really had here. We can see how price reacted intraday to these areas. Same thing on ES, had a big dump. You know, according to what I was watching, a solid trade, you know, according to what I would want, would have been this right here. We had this zone as support. This is that previous all-time high. We wick down into this area and then sell through it on really big volume. Wick up into it, fail to close higher, wick up into it again, and then continue that downtrend. So this is kind of sort of what I would be watching, is that we break through a major area of support, retest it, fail to reclaim it on the 5 minute, at which point, you know, you could enter, maybe set your stop you know, somewhere above this wick, and then we get that continuation. That's a pretty big move from here to here is like a 30, 35, 40 point move. So that would have been decent according to what I was, you know, the way that I trade, but that's really it. And that happened right in the last like half hour of the day. So no trade for me. No trade. The morning was a little choppy and hard to read. So I'll go back and look if there's any like really obvious resistance in here. I guess we can, you know, if we just take a look at like, I want to do this backwards. Maybe we did have some resistance in this area, right? But it wasn't a main area of resistance to me in terms of this stands out to me more because it's an obvious swing low here, obvious swing high here, pre-market high here. We did reject in this area in the pre-market here. Came up and tested, I guess, this whole zone in here, you know, like I guess that would have been more accurate, but that's a pretty wide zone for me to want to watch. Maybe like a, you know, over a 20 point zone. So I try to keep it a little bit tighter than that. But yeah, that's all. No trades today. Hopefully we get some better setups tomorrow. It's a short week this week. No Friday trading because of Good Friday, so the market will be closed. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. I do trade live Monday through Friday, so I'll be here the remainder of the week. I appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Peace.